Hi and happy Halloween. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kim, aka the Booker Harlot, because I love all things Booker Prize related. Now, I also love Halloween and I love this time of year. So I thought I would deviate a little bit from the Booker Prize just because the winner is now announced at the end of November. So that gives me a ton of time to get all of the books read in time for the winner announcement. So I am in the mood for some horror. The seasons have changed, the fall colors are coming out, it's getting cooler, it's sweater weather, and in my neck of the woods, my community is so about Halloween. It is phenomenal to drive around my community and see all of the Halloween decorations. And I will try to get some video clips of that in for you, but I don't want my neighbors to think that I'm stalking them with my camera. So we'll see what I can do. So this is going to be a little bit of a different format. It's going to be much longer. I'm actually starting this 3 weeks before Halloween, and I picked out 3, potentially 4 books. And the first one is called A Dark Shade of Noir. It is a collection of short stories. It is edited by the fantastic Joyce Carol Oates, and it is new stories of body horror by women writers. And I think that that is just so intriguing. And the dedication, it reads, for those harpies, furies, gorgons, and fates through the centuries who never had a chance to tell their tales. And I love the idea of female writers telling tales of body horror through classics. Now, because she listed the Furies, this book just came out, and it is another collection of short stories by women writers, and it's called Furies. And it is, I think, 15 different stories, including Margaret Atwood, Emma Donoghue, Camilla Shamshi, Helen Noemi, and Ali Smith. So I think that this will be a very interesting romp to tie into the other one. It says on the blurb that this is a fun and fearless collection of new and original feminist tales from some of the most exciting writers working today, in honor of Viraggio's 50th birthday, which is the publishing house. Now, if there is time, I have been meaning to read Our Share of Night. Isn't that a fabulous cover? By Marina Enrique. She also wrote The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, which made the Booker International recently. And let's see who this is translated by. Of course, hard to find the translator, which drives me crazy. Anyways, I guess I'll have to put it in the description box below. But I might listen to this on audiobook as well as read it. And it is translated by Megan McDowell, who has been nominated for the International Booker Prize for her work in translation 4 times. So if there's time, I will get this book in because I have not read it yet. And then these are our wonderful choices for this spooky and horror-filled vlog. See you soon. So I've just finished A Darker Shade of Noir, and I will put up a picture of the cover because the cover is amazing and very in theme with horror for this autumnal vlog. Um, so it is essentially new stories of body horror by women writers. And I'll read you the blurb on the back so you get a sense of what it's about. Should we know nothing of the female monsters of antiquity, still we would know that body horror in its myriad manifestations speaks most powerfully to women and girls. To be female is to inhabit a body that is by nature vulnerable to forcible invasion, susceptible to impregnation and repeated pregnancies, condemned to suffer childbirth, often in the past, early deaths in childbirth, and in the aftermath of childbirth. That's from the introduction by Joyce Carol Oates. Now, this book is told in 3 parts, and the first part is You've Created a Monster, which, to be honest, was my favorite. And I get that with a collection of short stories that you want to stack the best stories at the beginning. The second part was Morbid Anatomy, and the third part was Out of Body, Out of Time. Now, to be honest, I was a little hesitant. I was very hesitant to read this book because of the Booker International Shortlist from 2022. And I read Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. And while I liked the first story, I really did not get on with the rest of the book. I really felt that it was violence and extreme uncomfortableness for no good reason that just wanted to make you feel uncomfortable and gross and didn't add anything to the stories. But that's a video for another time. This, A Darker Shade of Noir, did not disappoint. It is absolutely fantastic. I couldn't put it down. One of my favorite stories is by Margaret Atwood, and it's the beginning of part 2, and it's called Metapsychosis, or The Journey of the Soul. And it is told from the perspective of a snail who is inhabiting a woman's body. And what an interesting perspective. Learned all sorts of things about snails that I never thought I was going to, let alone from a book on body horror. And it was extremely funny. And in a very cheeky edit by Joyce Carol Oates, the next story following that is by Lisa Tuttle, called Concealed Curry. And it actually mentions The Handmaid's Tale and is essentially sort of the beginning of The Handmaid's Tale told from the perspective of a young woman who has immigrated from London to Texas. And it's fantastic. Um, and this book made me laugh. It grossed me out. There are all sorts of different formats. There are even pictures by artists. Lisa Lim contributed um, sketches to her story. And it is a lot about how women relate to their bodies, how their bodies make other people uncomfortable, how their bodies make them uncomfortable. It's looking at mothers, it's looking at childbirth, it's looking at different worlds. It goes back in time to the 1800s where women didn't even own their own bodies. And another one of my favorite stories was surprising to me because it's by Raven Lalani, and it is called Breathing Exercise. And while I read Luster, I didn't get along with it. Not because I didn't think that she was a good writer, but I really don't like when women are made to, or are subjected to lessening themselves and uh, withdrawing into a world in which they can only see themselves through other people. But anyways, that's another video for another day. But I think that, and maybe because this is labeled horror, she has the same sort of theme running throughout her short stories. But I thought it was brilliantly done. So one of the short passages in one of her stories I really thought summed up this a little bit about the many themes that are operating in this short story. So it says on page 173, it was not insignificant for her to believe so totally in a thing she could not see. Because she was a woman, she had been taught to distrust herself, and there was no certainty she held that had not been vetted for the cure. Indelible madness of female error. And I just think that that is so brilliantly worded. So, to sum up this book, I think that it is highly uncomfortable. It pushes limits in so many different, brilliant ways. Beautifully written throughout the whole thing. Um, Plays with different prose and genres, but it basically sticks to body horror in some way. I found this book very disturbing and highly claustrophobic, and it was all of the things that I needed for right now. For fall, Halloween is upon us, and I just really needed a little bit of a break from the heavy books that is the Booker Prize. And next up for this reading vlog will be Furies. And it is released by Virago Press, and it is another collection of short stories by female writers. So I will leave you with some video clips while I get to reading. So, Morning Kim coming to you. And I just finished the first story in Furies, which is by Margaret Atwood, which is a very interesting choice considering I just finished A Darker Shade of Noir, and Joyce Carol Oates chose to put Margaret Atwood's story in the middle. Anyways, a little bit about the structure of this. It's about 15 stories by women writers. It is all about the Furies, and each story is centered around a different Fury. So the first one by Margaret Atwood is by Siren, and it opens up, well, I should say that this is put out as a 50th anniversary by Virago, which is a female warrior and was started as a publishing press for women writers and feminism. Um, and it opens up with saying that, warning, this book is this is a book of wild writing. If you are a woman, please make sure you are up to it. Have you girded your loins, quilled your hysteria, asked your husband's permission? So absolutely fantastic. And I have to tell you, chef's kiss to Margaret Atwood. I absolutely adore her. The first story in here is written from the point of a siren, so a mermaid. And it opens up with today's liminal beings knitting circle will now be called to order. So Margaret Atwood is talking about a knitting circle of furies, and she does talk about the knitting circle is for presumed female. Presumed male, such as the Manicores, Cyclops, Minotaurs, and Balrogs, have a billiards club. But whether knitting circle or billiards club, we have all had the experience of being despised and even feared. We all had the experience of being, as it were, exiled and shunned. And the funny thing is, they vote out zombies. So I'm just so blown away. And there's even a discussion about vampires. So the first story is, I think, like 5 pages long, and it is absolutely amazing. Okay, I will leave you and keep reading. All right, let's go. So I thought I would share with you some of my favorite things that have come across my doorstep in the past couple of days. And the first one is my subscription to House of Anne and Z, which is a Canadian press. And they sent me The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart by Holly Ringland. And look at that color. Cover, isn't it beautiful? And I believe this is a Netflix series starring Sigourney Weaver, which, interesting enough, her character of Ripley on Aliens is what we named Ripley after. So that's exciting. I'm hoping to get to that after the Booker Prize. And then another one of my favorite things is something called Passion Planner, which, if you're not aware of it, has really helped me to keep my life organized. And this isn't a paid promotion by any means. I am just sharing my favorite things. And they have yearly calendars, which I absolutely adore. So this is the one that I recently acquired. So this is for 2024, and it is their Evergreen Gilded Magic Edition. And what I like most about Passion Planner is not only their ability to keep me organized and to inspire my passions and create the life that I want, but they give you options. Like, you can start your calendar for 2024 on a Monday, or you can start it on a Sunday. And for my entire life, just a pet peeve of mine, I have struggled with the fact that calendars start on a Sunday, because for me, the week starts on a Monday. Sunday is your day off. It's your day of rest. Hopefully you're not working. So, and I also ordered their highlighters, because that's the kind of geek I am. And they do have sticker books as well, which I always order because they're just too much fun. And it's nice to open up a sheet and see fun things in front of you. So this is their gratitude and affirmation sticker book. So that's some of my favorite things, and I'm going to keep reading. So I'm halfway through Our Share of Night, and I am having too much fun with this book. So it is translated by Megan McDowell, and it is narrated by Frankie Corzo. And I'm reading it and listening to it because it is a 28-hour, more than 600 pages book. So it's quite an investment. So this is set in Argentina. It takes place between 1960 and 1977, but not in a linear fashion whatsoever. It's told in 6 parts. And let me show you some of the artwork, because it is astounding. And I am really enjoying this. Look at that. And it's just all the fun things you want a horror book to be. So the first 3 parts are told between 1981 and 1986, and it is about Juan, who is an ailing medium and a father who is trying to protect his young son Gaspar from the dark side and cults, and preventing the cult from knowing that Juan is a medium, and then using Juan for their own advantage. We're gonna go soon, sweetie. Now, the reader knows more than Gaspar, the young son, so that really helps to build up suspense. And they have recently lost their wife slash mother, Rosario, in a brutal bus accident. Now, part 4, oh, and it's told in the third person. And part 4 switches to the story of Rosario, their mother, and it's in the first person. And it's told between 1960 and 1967. So this has also been called magic realism. There's a little blurb on the back, and I would say yes, it's horror, it's magic realism, and it's not horror to the point where it is gory or disgusting or over the top. I really think that this has a bit of a cozy beach feel for a horror book. It's like all the fun things you want a horror book to be. And there is a very big cast of characters, but it's slowly being introduced, and it's fantastic. The story of Gaspar, to me, has been reminding me a lot of Demon Copperhead, in the sense that the first 3 parts are largely about Gaspar and his very complicated relationship with his father. And if you have triggers for child abuse, this is not the book for you. So I am really enjoying this. This feels very autumnal to me. I really needed a good horror book to sink my teeth into, and it is fantastic. So Ripley and I are going to go for a walk. Ripley. Overnight, it has gone from 22 degrees to 3 degrees today, with a chance of snow. So in true typical Canadian fashion, summer was yesterday and winter is upon us. So I will take you along for a walk, and I'm going to finish this book, and I'll get back to you soon.
Okay, let's go. Come on, honey.
So I finished reading Furies, and this is a very interesting collection of very original short stories. One of my favorites, actually my most favorite, which you heard before, is a Margaret Atwood story. I really enjoyed Susie Boyd's story called Muckraker, and she's just put out a nonfiction book called Love and Mist, which is getting rave reviews. Her story is about a woman who only dates male widows, and it is extremely well written, really shines a light on relationship, and there's a very interesting twist at the end. And like A Darker Shade of Noir, there are illustrations in this book, and actually, there is a graphic novel, a short story graphic novel. So, how original is that? Called She Devil by Eleanor Cruz, and it is about a haunted chair, which was very engaging. Another favorite of the stories was by Ali Smith called Spitfire, and it's about a woman trying to understand her dead mother and her father to some extent, and the sort of fragment memories that aren't true. And the different interpretations her siblings have, and also the sort of fact that she hasn't been able to hold on to anything by her mother. She only has a button and a broken book, and she's very much trying to understand her mother's history. That is surrounded by World War II, of course. Um, and Another one I really enjoyed was by Claire Coda, and she wrote Woman Eating, and it's called Tigress, and it's about a female tigress who is dead and her children who are mourning her, and how this woman, society forced her to turn into a tiger. And there are a lot of dead mothers in this book, so if it's a trigger for you, you're probably going to have to skip a lot of this book. And What I also find interesting, and that I just realized about this vlog, is that this is a horror vlog with 3 different books, and they're all done by women. There's 31 female writers, all contemporary, and even the translator and narrator of the audiobook I'm listening to is women. So I think that's amazing in this time and age that I can do a horror vlog with all contemporary books and all have female voices. So my last thought on this is I think that it's really original. I enjoyed all of the stories, more some more than others, which is um, very true to reading short story collections. But I think that it is very cohesive in the fact that each of the authors is talking about a different fury. Um, and I really highly recommend this to you. So next up is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. And I have to say that, as well as being an all-female horror vlog, I think that all of the covers are absolutely gorgeous. So I'll see you shortly. So I finished reading Our Share of Night, and it was a totally fun read. The interesting thing is that it is called horror, but I don't think that horror is the right genre term for it. I think it's more magic realism that takes place around a cult practicing black magic. It is intergenerational, and it changes in location between London and different places in Argentina. Um, and it was, if for lack of a better term, such a beach read for me. And when I say beach read, I think this is the type of sort of engaging book that you want to take on a long trip. If you've got a long flight, if you've got this book along with you, that your flight's going to go really, really quickly. And, a great book to sit on the beach and read to make the time pass by. It was very, very enjoyable. I really liked the characters. I thought the character development was incredible. I enjoyed Rosario's story, and it was told from the first person, whereas everything else is in the third person. And I think that it really worked. I don't think that this book needed to be linear, and it's not. I really cared for the characters. I was very engaged with them. And Mariana does a sense of place really, really well. Now, in terms of pacing, this is a very long book, and I would only say that if you don't like a slower, and it's not slow pace, but it's not as fast paced as you would normally think a horror book is. But I was there for it because the slower pace meant I got all of the details about all of the characters and the setting and what was going on and who was feeling what and who knew about this and who didn't know about this. And I just thought it was great. This was such an autumnal read, and there's something about reading, horror books in the fall that just makes me happy. So I would highly, highly recommend this book. So thank you so much for joining me for this sort of longer vlog. I have really appreciated working on it over the past 4 weeks. And please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And I try to upload every Friday. And we will be getting back to the Booker books very, very shortly. So if you've made it all the way to the end of this vlog, please leave me a spooky ghost or a fall leaf in the comments. That would be so much fun. So thanks again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.